O perfectly God, the preserver and protector of all, you are without beginning and without end, non-dual, beyond comparison, and none can measure you. You are without color, without expression, without form, and without attributes. You are unlimited and unfathomable. Well, you are beyond imagination and conception, eternal and imperishable. You are invisible and none can see you, but with eyes divine. You are you always were, you always are, and you always will be. You are everywhere. You are in everything. And you're also beyond everywhere and beyond everything. You're in the firmament and in the depths. You're on the manifest and unmanifest, on all planes and beyond all planes. You're in the three worlds and also beyond the three worlds. You are perceptible and independent. You are the Creator, the Lord of Lords, knower of all minds and hearts. Your appointment and your appointment and present. Your knowledge infinite, power infinite, and bliss infinite. You are the ocean of knowledge, all knowing, infinitely knowing, the knower of the past, the present, and the future. You are knowledge itself. You are all merciful and eternally benevolent. You're the soul of souls, the one with infinite attributes. You are Trinity of truth, knowledge and bliss. You are the source of truth, the ocean of love. You are the ancient one, the highest of the high. You are Prabhu and Parmeshwar. You are the beyond God and beyond God also. You are Pravama, Allah, Yah, Isnan, our Muslim, and God the beloved. You are Isa, the only one worthy of worship.
Thank you. Srinidhi, you want to do the prayer of repentance?
Sure. We repent, O God, most merciful, for all our sins, for every thought that was false, unjust, or unclean, for every word spoken ought not to have been spoken, and for every deed done ought not to have been done. We repent for every word and for every deed and word and thought inspired by selfishness, and for every deed and word and thought inspired by hatred. We repent most especially for every lustful thought, and for every lustful action, for all lie and for all hypocrisy, for every promise given but not fulfilled, and for all slander and backbiting. Most especially also we repent for every action that has brought ruin to others, for every word and deed that has given others pain, and for every wish that pain should befall on others. In your unbounded mercy, we ask you to forgive us, O God, for all these sins committed by us, and forgive us for our constant failures to think and speak and act according to your will.
Thank you. Ayan, do you want to do the last one? I'm going to find out what's going on with Sahana, okay? So I'm going to be right back.
All right. Give me a minute.
Can you do the beloved God prayer?
Oh, yeah. Beloved God, help us all to love you more and more and more and more and more and more, so that we'll become worthy of union with you. And help us all to hold fast to Baba's love until the very end.
All right. Thank you. So, Sahana's here. Sahana, do you want to turn on your video? There we go. Awesome. So I think we have everyone. We have a special guest today, and as you know, like today is going to be possibly the last one before we break for the summer. And I do want to ask you guys how you feel about, you know, what do you want to do over the summer? What are the plans? So maybe we should do that now before, you know, we get towards the end and then we have to go. So we were thinking either we just take a break in the summer, that's option one, and then we come back, you know, either end of August or first week of September, right? With the option of having maybe some specials, because I know a lot of us are traveling, right? So what do you guys think? I'd like to start with Srinidhi.
I don't know. How about option two?
What's the option? Okay, so which one was that?
The one where we come back in like August or September.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Only because we need to, logistically, we need to let Angela know, right? So I just want to ask that. Okay, so what we could do is this, right? As you guys think about it, put it in the chat, what you guys all want, and then we'll come at the end and decide, right? So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker. Her name is Kirtana. She also happens to be my sister, and she is a yoga instructor on the side. She is a lawyer and a full-time mom. So do you want to introduce yourself, Kirtu, and then I'll have all the kids introduce themselves.
Sure. Hi. Thank you for that introduction. So as my sister said, I'm Kirtana. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And yeah, I've been teaching yoga again for the past few months. I took a break when I was pregnant with our son, Niam. And yeah, the pandemic definitely sort of brought me back to my mat and really reinvigorated both my yoga practice and my meditation practice. And so something that I wanted to ask all of you was, what do you think yoga is? And how do you see yourself incorporating it, if at all, and no judgment if you don't want to incorporate it, into your daily life? So I will, and I can share about how I incorporate yoga in my daily life and what it means to me. So yoga to me means showing up as I am in whatever space possible. I think oftentimes we are forced or sometimes asked to show up as someone else or show up not truly authentically as we're feeling or being in that very moment. So I think yoga reminds me to stay present and, express how I'm feeling in this very moment. And sometimes I'm feeling very happy and other times I'm not feeling so happy. But again, it's through that recognition of how I am in this moment that allows me to process that feeling and then let it go and move on. And I try to practice yoga pretty much every day. It's not just a physical practice on my mat. It's sort of, being mindful when I'm parenting, being mindful when I'm cooking or cleaning or walking or running or anything like that. I think that oftentimes we think about yoga as like asana, which means posture and like doing doing it on our mat and doing a cool pose. But, that's not it at all. Yoga can come through various means. So I will pick on Meher. And can you tell me a little bit about what you think yoga means to you and if and how you incorporate it in your daily life? And if you don't want to share, you can totally skip and just round robin it to the next person on your screen. Cool?
So before we start, I want to bring something up, right? So just taking the kids back, do you guys all remember what our first meeting conversation was? What did we talk about? Who remembers that? Because I think that will play really well into this whole thing. Come on. Meher, do you want to start?
Yeah, I think for me, a yoga is kind of like a mindfulness exercise. Like it's not just your physical activity. I think it's also about your mental activity.
That's great.
And do you remember what our first conversation was when we first started? What did we talk about? I know it was a long time ago.
No pressure.
I'm not sure.
Okay, no worries. So we had first started talking about, do you remember we all introduced ourselves and then we started talking about how the pandemic was, how did it make you feel, right? So this is kind of coming a full circle back so that, before we break for the summer, maybe we can all mentally prepare ourselves because this summer is going to be very different from last summer, right? Because most of us are vaccinated, maybe you'll be traveling, right? And seeing people. So I just want you guys to think about those answers because we first started talking about the pandemic and how it felt. And you guys all said, oh, some of it appreciated it because it was a different way. Some of us didn't like it. So remember those thoughts while you answer Kirtana's question, right? And also let's tell her your age so that she knows how old we are and where you live. Okay. So Meher, do you want to go back and think about how you felt differently from back in the day to now and answer any other questions?
Oh, I think Ian has his hand up.
Yes, Ian. Ian, you're so far away, it's hard to see your hand up.
No, yeah, because I'm doing Zoom to my TV. So basically, next year, will the Sahavas be online or will it be in person next year?
For now, it'll be online, but good question. I'll have to think about that.
If it's in person, then I can't do it because
That's okay. No, we're still gonna do Zoom. Maybe in person will also be there. But why don't you answer Kirtana Atta's question and
Okay.
the ones, think about what we talked about in the beginning, right? About the pandemic.
Yeah, so during the pandemic, it's been a big change from the beginning of the pandemic and to now. At this point, we're going back to like a sense of normalcy. But at the beginning of the pandemic, I remember everyone was always online school. Yeah, and I was gonna answer about the summer too, and I really I choose option 2 as well.
Okay. What about Kirtana's questions? Did you think, like, have you done yoga or meditation or mindfulness?
Sometimes I use the Breathe app on this, but other than that,
That's yoga.
What about in school? Do you guys do that in school? That's a good, something to think about, right?
So when I was in school, so the past year in 5th grade, what I did was poetry. When I had poetry class, my teacher made me do meditation before every single.
That's cool. And how did that make you feel to meditate?
That was probably my favorite part of the whole class.
It was?
Yeah, because let's just say I didn't like that class. I was not a fan of it.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And so for meditation, did she do like a guided meditation or did she just ask you to,
a 1 minute quick thing.
Okay.
Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Thank you for sharing. Do you want to round robin it and pass the baton to someone else so that they can introduce themselves and answer the survey questions my sister asked and then the 2 questions I asked?
I think Sahana had her hand up.
Oh, okay. I didn't. Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't see that on my screen. Sahana, you want to go? Hi, Sahu.
I did meditation. Like we have something called SEL in school. So it's like social emotional learning. So I do. So we do that like right after recess, and so my teacher put on a meditation thing for like 12 minutes or something or 10 minutes. So yeah, and then I think some of the kids in my class fell asleep because you had to like close your eyes and then like you played a video. And then when I was virtual, well, I do like, so I have gym, so like I do some yoga poses, and then when I was virtual, my gym teacher put like these yoga videos that teach the yoga stretches and stuff.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Did you want to pass the baton to someone else?
I don't know. Yeah, sure, but I don't know who to pick.
Who lights up on your screen?
Maybe Shane.
Sure. So I have done yoga in my life before. I don't know, 3 years ago, maybe 4. I used to do yoga with my dad in the basement, and yeah.
Do you remember what was it like a vinyasa yoga where you just did a lot of postures, or did you do breathing exercises or meditation? Do you remember?
Breathing exercises.
Okay, very cool. And how do you incorporate yoga in your daily life? Do you want to share that?
Well, I sometimes do yoga right now with my dad, but yeah, and
Very cool. Thank you for sharing. Do you want to ask someone else to share?
Sure. Who hasn't gone? Shireen?
Yeah, sure.
Hi. Oh, I think you might be.
Yeah, I do yoga, like stretches, time to time. Like, can you hear me?
Yeah, there's a little bit of feedback. Do you have like a cell phone close?
Oh yeah,
to your
I do
body?
yoga stretches time to time. Like,
So I have to say,
yeah, I
Shireen
do.
is a beautiful gymnast.
Okay, I think oh yeah. Just one second.
Sure, yeah, take your time.
Okay.
Srinidhi, while Shireen, you ready?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I did gymnastics. We did a lot of stretches. And sometimes we did breathing like splits. I incorporate that. Like I still do it till this day. And sometimes for gym, like I had to search in some YouTube videos, yoga, meditation. Oh, what was that question?
So the second question was, how if you do practice yoga, how do you think what do you do to practice it on a daily basis? It can, and I think you shared just that you do some of the stretches.
Yeah.
So I guess the first question I had asked was, what do you think yoga is? Like, what does it mean to you?
For me, it's more like physical because like I love doing stretches, like challenging myself to like, yeah, splits, back stretches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also sometimes like the meditation part of it is like for mindfulness and stress free.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Is there anyone else that we missed?
Unless the adults want to share. I think we got all the kids.
Yeah. I see a screen with the dolphin. I'm not sure. Oh, that is Sahana. Okay.
Yeah. So one other thing, just so Shireen and Meher are siblings and they live in Connecticut.
Okay.
And then Srinidhi lives in Colorado, right? Okay. Just to get you guys a little more, placement. And you already know where Ian lives.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Kirtu, it's all yours.
Oh, so I didn't really have anything formal prepared because I wanted to sort of, do a temperature check on sort of where you all are in terms of, one, how you're feeling, because as my sister mentioned, we're kind of, things are opening back up again and we're resuming sort of to a new normal. And so looking back to last year today, and then comparing that to today, what is the first feeling that sort of arises? And if you don't want to share, that's fine. And I can start off if that helps, and then I'll ask, I will leave the floor open. So I think for me, the first, looking back to a year ago, the feeling that I had last year this time was one of tremendous anxiety. I was feeling constantly stressed out about what was happening, if and when I could see my family. And it took a lot of introspection, looking within, to really sort of, one, recognize that I was feeling that way. Because again, you know, we don't like to get, at least me, I don't like to label a feeling, because I'm always fearful of like, oh, I am feeling that. So it took me a really long time to recognize that I was feeling anxious and perhaps scared. And then as I worked through that and I sat with that feeling, I started to really recognize sort of the gratitude that I can express, and which was that, you know, I was safe, my family was safe, and that's sort of what I sort of focused on to help manage that feeling. And then comparing that to today, I am definitely feeling very hopeful and excited. Still a little anxious here and there, but I think that through, you know, sitting with those feelings and talking to you know, close friends and you know, professionals, I think that that's definitely helped me understand that there's a lot that we can't control, and oftentimes what we can control is our outlook, which is, you know, focusing on joy, focusing on what you're most grateful for, what brings you like true happiness. And, you know, whether that's through movement, if you're moving, walking, running, doing some asana practice, or through meditation, that sort of helped me kind of process those feelings and come to this spot where I am feeling very hopeful and excited. So does anybody else want to share how they're feeling today compared to last year today?
Meher, you want to go first?
I think last year's was like kind of like with a lot of events, kind of.
So busy?
Yeah.
Was your mind feeling busy, or were you like actually busy?
I'm not sure. Like, it changed so much just from the pandemic.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that you, because of all the changes that happened from, you know, going from in-person school to virtual, and, you know, sort of being on lockdown, that all of those changes not only were physically happening around you, but also, you know, mentally you were responding to that change. Did I understand that correctly? Yeah. So how are you feeling today? Normal? Yeah. A new normal? Yeah.
Hey, I want to ask a question before we move on, and maybe this is something we can think about also while answering your question. Is how does it help, like you know, not just the pandemic, but small things, right? Like if things don't go our way, or maybe we want to eat, as simple as we want to eat ice cream and there's no ice cream, or your mom's saying no, like how do you deal with that? I mean, do you think we would we practice like our breathing or yoga at that time, you know, as an instructor? What would you say?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know that for the times that I get very frustrated, especially with a almost 3-year-old at home, which is very often than not, I think that the one thing I do practice quite a bit is just that deep belly breathing. So a great way to sort of calm your nerves is to do even breathing, where you breathe in for 4 and then you breathe out for 4. And if you try to do that several times, it helps calm your nervous system and you really tap into just the calmness, and you separate yourself from that feeling of frustration. You almost kind of see it happening outside of you versus inside of you. And I like to think of it as like, I'm sure, I don't know if this cartoon still exists, or if you have ever watched it, but it was one of the, I think it was either Elmer Fudd, who he was this park ranger / hunter. And whenever he would get really, really frustrated or angry, his whole head would get like bright red, like tomato red. And I always think of that when I'm feeling frustrated, and you could see then like the heat and the redness from his head like dissipate and get out of his head. So that's sort of what I think of. And it helps me manage my frustration or my anger. And that's a really great breathing technique, or even just deep belly breaths, like in through your nose and out through your nose, are also super helpful.
Cool. Maybe we can do some of that after each one of the kids has answered your question. So maybe you can give an example where, I think that'll help you understand as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
There we are. So Srinidhi, you want to go next?
Sure. Well, last year was it was really boring, and like being stuck at home, and like a lot changed, and like my being online and like wearing a mask, it was like really difficult to wear a mask for like 8 hours when I went to school, and I kept touching my mask even though like my parents told me not to. Yeah, and in online it was really hard to actually like learn stuff, and it was just frustrating to just be at home and not go outside.
Yeah, I hear you. What were you able to sort of, now looking back, when you've identified that you were feeling frustrated, do you recall what you did to sort of manage that frustration?
I don't remember, but like I read a lot of books.
Yeah, that's a great way to manage your feelings. What and did the book sort of help you process that, and kind of, was it similar to sort of that Elmer Fudd example where it kind of, you realize it was just outside of you versus in you all the time?
I guess.
Yeah. That's very cool. So how do you feel today?
I really just want to stop wearing a mask.
Yeah. We're hopefully we will get there soon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I know. I think I mentioned earlier that, oftentimes one of the responses that we always give when someone asks us, "Hey, how are you doing?" or "Hey, how are you feeling?" we say, "Oh, I'm okay," right? Because that's just, we're conditioned to say it, and oftentimes we don't have the time to sit down and actually really talk about how we're feeling. And I think that that's sort of, again, what yoga has shown me in the last year, is to either, verbalize it and say it out loud, or even write it down, or even I started reading a lot more books like you, Srinidhi, to sort of really help me figure out what I'm thinking, and make that connection of, instead of, oh, I am frustrated or I am blank, it's I am feeling this way, to then my mind is telling me blank. So, oh, my mind is telling me I'm feeling stressed out. because then when you add those layers, it tends to help you separate yourself and your mind rather from that feeling, and you can oftentimes process it not only faster but also in a way that helps you move on and not hold on to it internally. So that's a really great example of managing your feelings, and that's yoga, is, you know, reading those books and like helping you figure out how to process that frustration. So that's amazing. You should be very proud of yourself. Does anybody else want to share how they were feeling last year today and compared to today?
Should we pick on Sahana next?
Sure. I think she said in the chat she was having video issues.
That's okay. You can still talk, Sahana. Remember, this is our sharing time, right? We come here and talk to one another.
Okay. Could you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Sorry, you guys were glitching when you guys said what you guys were saying. So what's the question again?
Sure. So the question is, how are you feeling? How were you feeling last year today? And then how are you feeling today?
Does it have to be like when COVID started or just in June, basically?
In June, or when COVID started?
I was excited and scared at the same time, and I was nervous, but I was like, okay, this is gonna be fine, because my teacher said that it would only be 2 weeks of quarantine. Ended up being a whole year. So it's weird because I can't believe it's been a whole year. It's so weird. And then now I'm like everything is slowly going back to normal, because at the beginning or in the middle, last year during summertime, it was sort of I asked my mom, is this the new normal? And she's like, yeah, this is the new normal. But it's slowly going back to actually the old normal, like before the whole pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is true. We're getting there slowly. So how do you feel now? So you said last year, this time or around the start of the pandemic, you felt both, you know, you're feeling fearful and excited. So now how do you feel?
I feel happy because it's, like I said, slowly going back to normal, and I'm pretty relieved, because I thought in my head, I thought this would go on for 5 years, and yeah, I honestly thought this is gonna be forever.
Yeah.
But during June time, if this is gonna be a new normal, and then in June I thought back, or July was wrong. Ended up as being 3 months, 4 months. So now I feel happy and all that it's going back to normal.
Great. Thank you for sharing. Does anybody else want to share?
I think we have Shireen and Ayan.
And if you don't want to share, that's fine, because then we can maybe move on to sort of a short meditation practice and kind of go on if you'd like to do that. So if Shireen and Ayan, would you like to share?
Yeah, I had the same things as Hannah. First, I was excited, but then it got really intense.
Mm-hmm.
like everything changed so quickly in a short period of time. So, but now slowly it's starting to open up. So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I'm as well. I share that excitement for things slowly opening up again.
So I want to, before we jump, Kirtu, I find that now the problems are smaller, right? Like because we don't really have to worry, but I think we still may be reacting the way we were before, right? So now we have so many opportunities, right? We can meet people, we can go outside, we can do a lot of things, but then I wonder if the frustrations are bigger, where you can only do so much in a day, for example, or you may want to be hanging out with your friend but they're also doing something else. So this is where I think maybe you can show us some techniques where if things are not going the way we want them to go, what do we do?
Yeah, so that's a really great segue into sort of one other thing that I've learned through the last year, and actually really practicing it. And it's so in yoga, there's the 8-limbed path, and oftentimes, a lot of you had said that you do stretches or you're doing a physical practice. So asana practice. So asana is posture or to place in a special way in Sanskrit. Asana practice is very small when you look at the 8-limbed path. So the 8-limbed path are the yamas, the niyamas, pranayama, asana, meditation, samadhi, and I'm forgetting one more, and I always forget that one, but I will look it up. So asana practice tends to be about 3% of that 8-limbed path. And oftentimes, the one thing that comes to mind to answer what Akka was asking was of the yamas, which are sort of our self-guiding principles and how we should act, how we should internalize. One of the yamas, which is the fourth yama, is brahmacharya. And it reminds me, it's the old school or the traditional meaning of it is abstinence. And now the modern day explanation has sort of transitioned to moderation and not living in excess. And that kind of comes into play now, right? Because everything is opening up and we find ourselves wanting to do all of these things that we had sort of either actually written down during quarantine or thought of doing. And we have this mental checklist of like, oh, I need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 things, but we can't because, either our parents want to make sure that we're slowly getting back into, socializing with people or, whatever. So it reminds me of that, that yama, which is asking yourself, am I truly needing this? And is it going to somehow, if I indulge in this sort of activity, will it actually bring me true joy? Or am I indulging in it because I'm seeking that external source of happiness or joy or whatever? That I have the same feelings as well, where I want to do all of these things. Like I wanted to do 5 things today, but none of them got done. And it's a reminder for me to remember that maybe I didn't need to do all those things, because at the end of the day, like I don't feel as frustrated because maybe it wasn't supposed to happen today, right? So I think that oftentimes you can ask yourself that very question of how much on my to-do list actually should be done, or how many of these events do I actually want to attend, and how much of it can I just say, you know what, I'm okay saying no because I want to take rest, or I want to read a book, or I want to stay home and draw, or something like that. So does that help at all?
Yeah, so I guess basically a need and a want, right? So before we jump to the next one, I want to kind of ask each one of the kids, can you give us one example of something that you really want to do? Doesn't have to be anything related to the pandemic or stuff opening up, but like something recently that you really wanted but didn't happen. I want to start with Ian. What did you really want? And then you realize, oh, maybe I don't really need it. Or, you know, you're frustrated. And then you realize, so remember, need and want, right? Basically.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of complicated because I feel like this year, my school, specifically in school, at first, I was pretty disappointed because at first I thought that I would not be there in person. So we have something every year at the end of the year. The last day of school is called Moving Up Day, where they like just have a bunch of performances all day by the kids. That was in elementary school. So I was disappointed at the beginning of the year because, excuse me, I thought that I would not be able to like have a moving up ceremony, and that was like I was frustrated because of that because um this year I'm going I went into middle school this year, so something that actually this one I wasn't frustrated that it didn't happen because it did happen eventually, but at that time I thought it wouldn't happen, and like some of my favorite ceremonies didn't happen.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. What about Sahana? Do you want to tell us something that you, like I said, it could be easily as simple as wanting to eat ice cream and not getting it.
Um. Hmm. I think ours is one time where what happened to my whole class. So at school, so my old class, my virtual class, came to the school because we had to do for the yearbook since it's our last year, and that's in our school. It happened like a month ago, I think. So we were taking pictures, and then we were using from the sky, writing that like, and all the fourth graders lined up, and it said 2021, and then right after that, so my old class, they got to play recess, and this was I think the week before full days. So all of us really wanted to play, but it's only one class of recess. But we have now we have like third graders with us at recess. Well, the whole class felt really jealous, but then our teacher said that well, this is the only time they get to play with each other. This is like their only recess together. So this whole year.
All right, thank you. What about Meher?
I think a few weeks ago, like we had this raffle thing, and whoever won the raffle, they get a prize. So I had I had a lot of raffles, so I thought I win the raffle. I would get picked for the raffle, but no, I didn't.
All right, Srinidhi?
Well, when before the pandemic, I thought that we were gonna go to Hawaii in like June or July with one of my friend's family, but we didn't get to go because of the pandemic.
That must be hard. I think, you know, it's okay to feel that disappointment because, you know, we all like to make plans and, you know, see that they happen, right? Because we get excited about vacations or maybe winning a prize at the raffle, or, you know, going to these school events where you can interact with your classmates and make memories. And I think that, you know, it's a difficult thing to experience when it doesn't happen. And I think one great thing, or one great way to sort of manage that disappointment, is again to ask yourself, and it reminds me of this 2-minute meditation that I have Niam, our son, do with me, which is, you know, to help him, you know, I say it's okay to feel disappointed that we didn't, you know, get to do X, but what can we do right now? So if you can look around the room, what do you see around the room that you can play with right this second? And, you know, we kind of do a fun little hop where you hop to it, like 1, 2, and we pick the toy or the marker and the pen or whatever. And then we get into that activity. So, you know, maybe next time, if you do experience that similar type of disappointment, you can ask yourself, well, what can I do in this moment right now that will bring me joy, right? And so that was something, and Srinidhi, I totally resonate with you on that disappointment, because my husband and I love to travel. And so being stuck at home for the last 15 months has been very, very hard. And the one thing I found myself doing a lot was going on, you know, regular walks and runs around our neighborhood to really soak in where we are, and to, you know, to recognize the beauty that's around us, to recognize the fact that, you know, we have a home and we're safe. And so that often really helped me process that disappointment. Because yeah, we were supposed to go to Istanbul and Austria, and we had to cancel our trip. So I hear you, and I see you on that disappointment.
Ian, do you have a question? I'm so sorry.
Oh yeah, Ian's raising his hand. Go ahead, Ian.
During the pandemic, before this March when we went to Myrtle Beach, I was like, I miss the beach. I don't want to be in Pittsburgh anymore. I want to be at the beach.
I miss the beach too, and I live close to the beach.
Really sad.
I know. All right, anybody else before? I know Kirtana has an activity planned for you guys, and we are close to time. Surprisingly, I can't believe how fast this went. So let's get into it, right?
Sure. Does anybody else want to share, or do you guys want to do the activity really quick before we all have to go our separate ways? All right, I'm going to take that silence as let's move on to the activity. All right, so I ask that you all find a comfortable seat. So we'll end with a sort of a grounding meditation. So if your body's feeling like it needs to lie down with, you know, a pillow supporting your neck and a pillow supporting your low back, you can lie down. Otherwise, you can sit up straight with your back being supported with the wall or your chair. So anything that you can do to find comfort for the next few minutes, because you'll be in this position for about 5 to 7 minutes. So start to, and I invite you to either close your eyes or maybe just gaze down at the tip of your nose so you can start to find some focus. And if you want to, you know, you can keep yourself on video, or you can, you know, not mute your video, but close your video, whatever you feel is comfortable. So start to come into your space and physically notice the weight of your body on the chair or the couch, and notice how it's being supported by the chair or the bed, or even the floor, like I'm sitting on the floor. And notice the support you're receiving from the floor beneath you. And just acknowledge that physical support and express your gratitude, excuse me, through a silent thank you. And start to really then notice any sounds around you besides my voice. Recognize those sounds that are either close to you or far away. And just acknowledge those sounds. Start to pay attention to maybe any smells around you. And notice if they're strong or faint. If you have your hands maybe resting on your legs, notice the texture of your clothing. Are you wearing something soft? Are you feeling warm? Are you feeling a little cold? Just notice that. And if your eyes have stayed open and you're gazing at the tip of your nose, start to bring your focus there. What do you see besides the tip of your nose? Can you continue to rest your gaze, your drishti, on that point? Start to take a deep breath in through your nose for a count of 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold at the top. Exhale for 4 through your mouth. 3, 2, 1. So we'll do a few rounds of breath like that, counting. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. Let it go. 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 more times, just like that. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1, and hold. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Last time. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. And then start to bring your focus on your breath. Return to your natural breathing pattern and notice your breath. Is it shallow? Is it a deep belly breath where you fill up your low belly, your mid belly, and you expand your rib cage? Then you slowly let it all fall back in. Are you feeling energetic? Are you feeling calm? A sense of stillness? And just start to focus your mind on your breath. Now, thoughts may arise, and I like to invite you to think of these thoughts as little cars on a road in front of you. And you're just sitting on the side of the road on a bench, watching the cars pass by. And just noticing how fast those cars are moving, or maybe they're moving pretty slow. And just notice, how do you feel witnessing these cars drive by on that road? Do you feel like you need to hop into one of those cars and drive along with them? Or are you content sitting on that bench on the side of the road and just being a witness to those thoughts? Oftentimes those thoughts then start to form into feelings or emotions. or they're driven by emotion. So those thoughts form and then they turn into feelings. And all of that is totally normal and it all happens to us. So in the next few minutes, as you sit quietly on that bench, watching those cars go by, I invite you to, instead of running into the road and trying to hop into the car, I invite you to just sit on that bench and just notice what feelings are coming up. And are those feelings turning into thoughts? And if you start driving along the road with one of those cars or thoughts, maybe stop and come back to the bench and just start looking back at the road again. It's in that moment of where we're just sitting on the bench that allows us to find that presence, to stay in the moment and really understand what we're thinking, what we're feeling, and to remind ourselves that we are not our thoughts, we are not our feelings. They're just all little, what do you say, indicators, or they tell us what's going on at that very moment. So take a few more breaths while you sit on that bench, watching the cars go by. And then when you're ready, you can start to let your mind wander a little bit. For the next 10, 20 seconds, let your mind think about whatever it wants to think about. Maybe hop into one of the cars and go down the road. Or perhaps you're perfectly content sitting on the bench. When you're ready, start to notice your breath again and feel that physical weight of your body. Notice where your hands are. Notice where your legs are either resting on the bed or chair. And start to feel that physical support beneath you. And then maybe notice the smell around your room. Start to bring that sense back. And then listen to maybe what you're hearing around your room. And last but not least, if you close your eyes, gently open your eyes and bring your attention back to the bridge of your nose, the tip of your nose. And just stay there for the next 5 breaths. Oftentimes in our meditation practice, as soon as we're done, we just want to jet set to the next thing. But it's in that pause between what we want to do next, I find that is the most gratifying 5 or 6 breaths that allow me to really soak in what I just did for the last few minutes in finding presence. And when you're ready, open your eyes, start to bring some movement, maybe wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. And when you're ready, take a big morning stretch. Lift your hands up in the air, circle your wrists, and come back to where you are.
That was awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. How did you all feel?
Yeah. Some of them may have fallen asleep.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, I felt really good. I mean, honestly, I couldn't look down at the tip of my nose because then I felt like I was getting hypnotized.
I've never heard that, but I can see that happening. Yeah.
I just flung back, and then I couldn't lift my head back up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I ended up just closing my eyes.
That's great. I oftentimes close my eyes too when I meditate, and I've definitely fallen asleep. So that means that you're really concentrating, which is great.
What about Shireen or Srinidhi? How did you guys feel?
Now I feel really sleepy. And whenever I look at the tip of my nose, my eyes just hurt, and yeah, I can't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good feedback. Thank you for sharing that. So yeah, when that happens, I usually just close my eyes instead, because I feel for me when I'm meditating, especially, having my eyes closed really helps me focus, because I don't have that visual distraction of, what's happening around me. But thank you for sharing that. And so if and when you want to incorporate this kind of mindfulness practice, I invite you can always keep your eyes open, or just, keep them closed to help you focus a little bit more. Yeah, go ahead, Meher.
It was very good. Like, it felt really good.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like emotional. Like, deep down, like, the more you do it, the more deep you go to your thoughts.
Yeah, that's so true, Meher. Thank you for sharing that. I think that, when oftentimes we think of meditation as quieting the mind or stopping our thoughts. And I've tried that kind of meditation where I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna focus on my breath. I'm just gonna, do that. And I found myself getting really frustrated because I was like, I can't stop my thoughts. And then when I started a new meditation practice last year, I noticed that it's actually not about quieting the mind, because that's just not possible. Instead, it's that stepping back from what we're thinking or what we're feeling to really, thank you, Shailaja, what we sort of stepping back and observing. And that's sort of what yoga and meditation teach us, is that from that observation of our thoughts, what can we learn? And there's also other really cool meditation practices where after you've done that breathing, then you can drop in a question, and you can ask yourself a question that maybe you would normally not answer when someone asks it. But if you ask that question, it allows you to kind of come up with an answer, but not think about it so much, because again, you're meditating, so you're separating yourself from your thoughts. So thank you for sharing, Meher. I'm glad that you had a good experience.
Anybody else want to say something?
I know we're 5 minutes over time, so I don't want to talk too much either.
Sahana or Shireen?
It's very good, Kirtana. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Kirtana.
You're welcome, Andy.
That's my sister.
Yeah. Hi.
Morning, Kirtu.
Mm-hmm.
Can we do that every morning?
Yeah, so I teach on Tuesday mornings at 6:30. So yeah.
All right, should we sign up, Ian? Yeah, maybe you can have, I'll make the kids do it. I've been trying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good idea.
How long was that meditation? It was very good. No, not this one. I mean the one that you teach on 6:30 on Tuesdays.
So on 6:30s, I teach a yoga class, but we start and end with meditation. So it's a 60-minute class, but if you want to just come to the beginning of it, and if you have to get ready for school or something, then you can just come to the beginning of it, and we do like a brief meditation practice before we do some asana practice. So I'll text mommy the info.
So usually, wait, hold on. What time? How long are your meditations?
My meditation now is 20 minutes in the morning and then 10 minutes after I'm done with work. So 30 minutes total.
I'm talking about like your, hold on. In the Tuesday class.
Oh, in the Tuesday class, it's like probably 10 minutes.
It's very good.
Okay then. So that means I'll have to wake up by 7:20. That works.
You mean 6:20?
If I'm there for the end of it.
Oh, for the end of it. Okay. Oh, I see. There.
Very nice, Kirtana. It's very well done.
Oh, thank
Very
you.
nice.
I'm so glad you could join.
Yeah,
Great
we are on.
way to
Thank you. Thank you.
have our final tween before we pick up in the fall again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Thank
let me know and I'll put it on my calendar.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great summer.
Thank you.
Angela, for
Thank you.
allowing me to be here with the kids and starting up the conversation a long time ago. We've had quite a great year, actually, I should say, great 9 months. Jeff has been there a few times and the kids have been awesome. So thank you so much for everyone who's been here, talk to the kids, and the tweens. I can't call them kids, but whatever.
Young adults.
And thank you so much, Kirtu, for coming. I know you're busy with the little one.
Sure.
Really, really, I appreciate you being here. So I'm done with my little spiel. If anybody wants to say anything.
Well, Shilpa, shouldn't you give them a lot of homework over the summer so they don't have too much fun? I'd recommend
6 hours of meditating.
Well, plenty of books.
My daughter's already cribbing that they have to do like some English and math. So I'm not going to do anything for the other kids.
Okay.
But Jeff, you can give them homework.
Yeah. No, just get into life deeply. That's the homework.
Okay, Baba.
Yep.
With Baba.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba, nice to meet you.
Thank
Hey,
you,
Baba. Thank you.
Thank you, Shapanti.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the
Thank
yoga.
you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a great
Very
summer.
well.
Baba.
Thank you,
Bye,
Shilpa. Thank you,
Baba.
Kirtana. Have a great
Thank
summer.
you.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a great summer.
Bye.